We made a prototype. I'll show everything in detail after.
So I didn't show you everything in detail after. Remember in my hackathon vlog I said that? Yeah, so here I am 7 months later with a video about what a hackathon is, giving some of my tips, and I'll show you snippets of my project. I hope you enjoy this video. Hello everyone and welcome back to Cracking the Code's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about hackathons, what they are, some skills and resources that you can learn in this video so you can potentially win your next hackathon. And learning these skills ahead of time will definitely help you be faster and more efficient in the hackathons. I know the name can be misleading, like you sound like you're about to hack a server or something in a hackathon, but it's actually just creating an idea, coding it, and pitching it. Alright, so let's get started. Before I begin, if you guys want to see a little more demo or a real life example of a hackathon, you can click right here on this little eye that pops up, and that's the vlog that I did during my first hackathon. Alright, so what is a hackathon? A hackathon is solving a given problem. It can be coding related, it can be real life related, and this problem is going to be solved in a short time frame. Now, hackathons can typically range from 7 hours to a couple of days. The shorter the amount of time, they usually expect less from you. So the hackathon that I did in my vlog, it was 7 hours long, which is pretty short and you can't really code much in that time frame. You can enter with your own team or you can get into groups. I didn't know anybody that wanted to do a hackathon, so I did a hackathon where they formed the group for me, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the tips section. So, how do hackathons work? Well, usually in the beginning of a hackathon, you are given a problem, and like I said, the problem is usually coding related or can be real life related. So the problem that I had in my first hackathon was, how can we bring diversity into computer science and the tech field? So we had to come up with something where we can all bring diversity together in the tech field and empower people to continue pursuing tech. There are 4 components to a hackathon. There is the ideation, the prototyping, the coding, and the pitching. Now, I'm going to go in depth with these, and I'm also going to give some resources for each step. So, ideation. Ideation is where you brainstorm all the possible solutions to the problem. You're coming up with the main idea and what you're going to build on and how you're going to solve the problem. This is mostly thinking and just mapping it out. You can brainstorm a sheet of paper, but some resources you might want to use is the Board of Innovation and Google Docs. They're easy to share with other people. You can share a Google Doc and you guys can all start brainstorming, writing down all of your ideas, and you can even use a paper. Sometimes paper is the best way to do it, but personally I found those 2 resources really nice. The next thing is prototyping. Now, prototyping is displaying and bringing your ideation to life. You're going to make use of aesthetics, colors, and positions of buttons. So let's say you're creating an app or you're creating a website. You usually map out what the website looks like. You can also map out the buttons and how your app will work. This is kind of like you're trying to make your idea into something, and you usually build on this prototyping. So there are many resources, but I'm going to give 3 for my top 3 prototyping tools. You guys can use the Marvel app, and I believe you have to pay money for this, but you do get 1 free prototype with an account you made. So I signed in with Google and I just used the Marvel app, and I put together all of my screens that I had built for this hackathon, and I had built all of these screens and the positions of everything using Canva. Now, Canva is the biggest tool that I've ever used. Aside from hackathons, I use it for everything. All the screens that you're seeing right now of things popping up, built on Canva, Instagram posts built on Canva, thumbnails built on Canva. So this is not sponsored by Canva, but I just think it's a great app. So when you have to display all your prototypes and bring everything to life and put squares and blocks and block out many screen, Canva is perfect for that. And the third component, and usually the optional component, which is interesting, is coding. And that is bringing your prototype to life, making it functional and making it real. Now, like I said, with a time frame, you are asked to do more. I wanted to code a website. I wanted to code an app. But the people in my group weren't really as skilled enough, and neither was I at that time, skilled enough to create an app or a website. And plus, with the time constraint, if I tried to learn on the go, I'm pretty sure it would have just been better off to make the best prototype and best pitch. And yeah, with this, I did not code during my hackathon, my first hackathon, but if you're going for longer hackathons, it is usually, if you want to go win first place, second place, that you do code it, make it functional. You can just make it functional, as in like creating a cool Python file. It doesn't have to be visual, although it will really help your pitch and for you winning the hackathon. But if you just build the functionality and send that in and just say, run this in the Python app, this is how it's going to work, it kind of brings that functionality and it makes it more real, and you're more likely to go up if you want to win a hackathon. The last component in all hackathons is pitching. Now, pitching it's the core of hackathons. This is where you have to talk about how your solution works to usually a panel of judges, and you have to talk about their unique elements and the implementation of your idea and why your idea is feasible and related to the problem. And I think that's so important because in presentations, people forget to connect their solution back to the problem, and that kind of disconnects it. It's kind of like you built your own thing. But you guys can use Google Slides, you guys can use Prezi, any presentation software to make your presentation better. But for Google Slides, I used Google Slides for my presentation because it was easy to share with everyone. There is a website called Slides to Go, where actually you can find these cool templates. I believe you're only allowed to use one, once again, but you download that template onto Slides, and it just makes everything really nice and much faster, so you don't have to deal with the aesthetics of your presentation. You can focus on more on why your solution is great. Why should you attend hackathons? Now, hackathons is a perfect way to test your efficiency, not only for pitching, prototyping, but most importantly, coding. When it comes down in the hackathon to your coding, it is super important to be efficient and get all the main parts done of your code. Oftentimes when we do our own project, we don't have a time constraint, so we kind of just take our time, make it more functional. But the time crunch on coding genuinely makes your code better, and I have seen that. When I've been set a timer or a time limit for my code, which I have done, the time crunch makes me think faster. Then I also get to find out the gaps in my basic knowledge, and then I can go back and revise them. The second biggest thing is networking. You meet so many people, there are so many vendors and sponsors, and although I did it virtually, we had a lot of people from RBC, and it was super cool to talk to so many people and professionals. You also, if you work in a team of not your friends or someone you know, meeting them, you can meet them and you can gain your wolf pack of people who love to code and love to do similar things as you. Because personally, I don't know many people that like to code or do hackathons that are really my close friends. So it's super cool finding that wolf pack, so then you can just conquer every single hackathon you go to and win those amazing prizes. Because let's be honest, the prizes are what pulls us to the hackathons. The next thing is you find your way to work with people, especially when you're put into groups of not your friends. You have to be really quick with the introductions and everything, so you get to introduce yourself and just make network connections way faster. Another thing is that once you've joined one hackathon, you literally know what to do during the next hackathon. It's kind of like, okay, ideation, prototype, coding, pitching. Everybody work on this part. There you go. You kind of had that experience, and that is definitely a confidence booster. Now for the third and last section of this video, we have hackathon tips. So here are some things that I remember jotting down during my hackathon, because when I was done my work and we were waiting to present, I didn't know what to do, and I obviously did not take a break, which was a bad idea. But here are some tips that I wrote down. Number 1, ironically, was take breaks and enjoy workshops for networking. So usually when you're doing a hackathon, there are workshops happening while you're working on your project. So therefore, if you're not understanding anything, you can go attend those workshops and try to see and get an idea. They usually drop hints there, like what you can add to get make your project better, and you get a better sense of what you need in order to win the hackathon. Do a lot of meetings with your group. In the beginning, when you have your team, you guys should ideate together. You guys should work on many things together, and depending on your timeline, so let's say it was 24 to 48 hours, every 2 hours except when you're sleeping, you guys should check in, see what you need, what you've gotten done, and how you need to split the work. Because when you're working in a group, there will be an automatic leader, and that person should assign roles to everyone so everybody knows what they're doing. Checking in will also clear confusion from a lot of people. And this way, if someone knows something more than the other person, you guys can allocate resources and switch tasks. It is amazing to see the efficiency. Another thing is to find out in advance what technologies you're going to use during your hackathon. Now this might be hard because you might not know your challenge, you might not know who's going to be there. For example, my hackathon, we figured out the problem, or what the problem is, right at the beginning of the hackathon. So we didn't know what was coming our way. But if you are going in advance, it is a great idea to see what technologies you need to use. If you figure out that you are going to have to code in JavaScript, and all you have is PyCharm as your IDE, the day before, maybe even a week before, download another IDE like VS Code, where you can code multiple languages on your device. And this way you can get familiar with the technology you're going to have to use during the hackathon, and you're just going to be better and faster while you're in the hackathon. Tip number 3 is teamwork is the dream work. You guys need to understand how important it is, if you're put into teams, to get familiar with each other. As weird as it sounds, you guys are going to have to force being nice on each other. Like, with the first 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how much time you have, you guys need to introduce yourselves, crack some jokes, figure out who people are. You guys can identify the strengths in your group and find out who should work on what, such as like who has front-end developing skills, back-end developing skills, who's good with talking, who's extroverted a little bit, so they can create it. If there's someone good at designing and thinking and brainstorming, you guys can split off the parts of everything to everyone. The last tip I have is to break down the problem. Understand the problem and clarify the problem, and understand all the information going in. This is super important because this is one of the biggest problems I faced. When I did my hackathon, I was under the impression that our pitch will be 5 to 10 minutes. And 10 minutes before we were presenting into the hackathon, we were in the waiting room to go pitch, and we could pitch twice. So this was our first pitch. We were super nervous, and as we're going into the waiting room, we figure out that our pitch is only supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes, and all hell breaks loose. Everyone is going crazy in my group. We have fit so much information into this presentation. We start cutting stuff off. We have to focus on the prototyping and me presenting, so we go in basically half scripted, and we on the fly, we just start adding things and taking out things, skipping slides, and it was a mess. Then we went into our second pitch, which was super cool, and we knew what we were doing that time. And at the end of the hackathon, I did not win, but you guys learned so many things from hackathons. So I hope this video helped you. If it did, be sure to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join our little coder family we have here. Click on the bell notification button to get notified when I post a video. And until then, continue to crack the code. Bye everyone!